welcome back to Whole Wellness. My name is Anne, and I appreciate you tuning in today. So when we're trying to figure out whether the person in our life is unhealthy, if not toxic for us, one of the things that we can pay attention to is the absence or presence of baiting tactics. And what I mean by baiting is the person appears to or seems to or makes you feel as though they're just trying to make you upset. They're just trying to get a rise out of you. They're just trying to get a reaction out of you. Because generally what'll happen is after you react, they'll return a response like, why are you overreacting? Why are you being so irrational? Why are you being so emotional? And they'll accuse you of overreacting when you potentially had a very reasonable reaction to very unacceptable words or behavior by this individual. And I'm going to give you a personal example. As you know, my mom and I are not on the best of terms. She is very unhealthy. And since I got counseling and have begun to get better and have been focusing on my healing the last couple of years, there has been more of a chasm and there's been more separation between my mom and I. In the early days of my healing, I tried to have a relationship of some sort with her. My mom and I have decades of history where she puts me down, mocks me, loves me, and treasures me one minute and then hates me and is jealous of me the next minute. It's back and forth and up and down and all over the place with her. And so I have for a while now tried very hard to have some sort of relationship with her, which has failed miserably. So every time I've tried to inch towards some sort of relationship with her, it's like taking one step forward, two steps back. And I realize I can't do this, I can't do that. She's obviously not going to work with me on this. She's not going to meet me halfway on that. And so it's steadily over the last couple of years since I got out of counseling been a move backwards and a greater separation between her and I, to the point where now I essentially do not talk to her on the phone at all. I may or may not see her in a large group setting in person if we have a large family event. But other than that, we're limited to texting. But she's on her iPad, and I have a rule about checking messages from my mom at work. And so I don't usually check for messages from her until I'm out of work. So a couple of weeks ago, my mom messaged me and she said, "Good morning, Anne." She said, "I hope and pray that your husband's parents are okay because they're seasonal in Florida with the hurricane that was headed for Florida at the end of August." Can't remember which hurricane it was. And she said, she goes on to say, "My prayers go out to them and their safety." So the person who's toxic is actually opening with a statement that has the appearance of having genuine concern for someone else or you or the situation, or seems genuine, has the appearance of being genuine. And then later she says, this is like an hour and a half after the original message, she says, "I would like to send something to your son at college, but I don't have his address yet. I'm sure he's very busy getting settled in. Would you please send me his address and his phone number if you have them? Thank you." And then she did a bunch of hearts and smiley faces. And when I got home and got this message, I have enough experience with my mom to know that the intro line, "I hope everything's well with your husband's parents," was fake. It was prepping me for a test. And the second comment about having something to send to my son at school is a crock of BS. She doesn't have something to send to him. The real question and the real test and the blow is, are you going to give me the information that I'm looking for? Her goal in trying to get this information from me is not because she genuinely has something to send to him, not because she genuinely is concerned and is thinking about him, or she genuinely wants to have a good, healthy intimate sort of fruitful relationship with her grandson. No, it's all about just getting the phone number and just getting the address from him. That's all it is for her. I have a long history of thinking and assuming that this is an innocent enough question. And at first glance, it definitely seems like, what's the big deal? Just give her the address, give her the phone number. But what happens excuse me, with an unhealthy person is it doesn't stop there. They take it to the next step and the next step and the next step till you're going, wait, stop. What is going on here? You just thought that they were just asking for this phone number and address, but that's not at all what they're after. They're after obtaining control over you. So this is what I responded to her. Because I'm aware now. Now, she does have the ability, and this is why I haven't been able to have a real frequent or existent one-on-one in-person relationship or on the telephone relationship with her, because she is skilled. She catches me off guard. She trips me up. She's to a certain extent, there's a part of me that thinks she cannot possibly be aware of what she's doing. She pleads innocent. She's the victim, but she is traumatized, and she is my whole family, my siblings. My dad left her when we were young adults. I mean, we all know she's crazy, if that makes any sense. Like, I don't know if the rest of my siblings would put it that way. That's a very, rude way of putting it, I guess. To some people it would come across that way, but that's not, I don't mean she's crazy. I mean, she has something wrong with her. She is not healthy. She needs help, and she refuses to get it. That's what I mean by she's unstable. She's not healthy, and she has abused us, the children in her life, our entire lives, with me, I think, being one of the primary targets, because I was the firstborn girl in my family. I was the apple of my dad's eye, so to speak. That's another story for another video. And that presented a problem for my mom, and she parentified me, unbelievably so, especially and in particular as a teenager. I was an extension of her, and all of that stuff that you've probably already heard about if you have been a scapegoated child or have a mother that treats you the same way or has treated you the same way in your life. But you're trying to screen an unhealthy person, and this is the sort of thing they're doing. They're baiting, they're taunting, they're trying to entice you to a reaction, which is going to set you off. That's the whole goal. So I responded. I took the time to think about it because I knew exactly what she was getting at. The first message, oh, how are your husband's parents doing? I hope they're doing well. Prayers for their safety. And then, oh, I have something to send to your son. No, she doesn't. And then, what's his address and phone number, by the way? And then a bunch of heart emojis and kissy emojis and smiley faces. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. And I later messaged her after I had some time to think about it. Hi. Thank you so much for thinking of my husband's parents. It sounds like the flooding has been bad, but other than that, everybody fared well, and it wasn't as bad as what they thought it would be. So thank you. And whatever you would like to send to my son, I'll just swing by your apartment and pick up, and I'll include it in either the next in-person trip that we make up there and hand deliver it to him, saving on shipping, right? Makes sense. Or send it with the stuff that we have to send to him and send it with the next shipment, saving you on shipping. And her response immediately, let's see, what was the timing? 5 minutes after I sent that message, I said, thank you, I love you so much, and a red heart back to her. Keeping it simple and I didn't say, no, I'm not going to send you his phone number and address. I just offered this alternate plan if she had something to send to my son. You know what her immediate response was? Why won't you give me his address and phone number? That's it. So the message had nothing at all to do with my husband's parents, or she would have said, oh, that's fantastic to hear. Glad that they had nothing more than a little flooding and they weren't in the direct line and didn't have any damage and so on and so forth. She would have responded to that. Then, if she was healthy and there was no scheming or ulterior motives with her, she likely would have said, oh, that sounds great. Thank you so much. I don't want to have to pay $5 or $10 or $30 for shipping this thing that I have to send to your son. So I would appreciate it if you'd pick it up and just hand deliver it to him, whatever it is, or ship it with your stuff and save me the money. And I was literally considering, you know what? I'll pay the shipping, whatever it is my mom had. But deep down inside of me, I've learned the lesson that my mom does not have anything to ship to my son. This has happened so many times before. I don't know if you remember the video a while ago where I shared the voicemail that she left for my husband about having a bunch of Christmas gifts for my sons and how, whether they can read or not, and pretending she's clueless and doesn't have a relationship with my sons, and this pathetic, sad, sorry message. Anyway, I may not, now that I think about it, I may not have done a video about that. I will have to do that because I have the message handwritten. I had to write it word for word because I had to later use that message. I needed to convince myself as I was getting healthy that, because I couldn't believe it. I refused to accept for a very, very long time. And this is what's so hard with my siblings is I refused to accept that my mom was ill. And it was very painful for me to seek distance because the guilt and the shame, the obligation to family and parents is part of my heritage, part of what I believe. I believe families should be loved and parents should be honored and respected. But if they're abusing you and taunting you and manipulating you, that's a whole different story in and of itself. But I knew when my mom, but getting back to this story, I knew right away, as soon as I got my mom's response, that my response inflamed her. And that's what happens when you're dealing with an unhealthy person and you take the time to stop and think and respond with no reaction and just matter-of-factly say, hey, this is, what we can do. They get furious. And you can hear it in the tone of her response. I sent this message back. Thank you so much for your thoughts. They didn't have much damage. They fared well. If you have anything, I can pick it up or send it to my son myself. I love you so much. Red heart. And she just responds, no emojis, nothing. Why won't you give me his address and phone number? So there you have it. She's furious. So I get that message and immediately I recognize, oh boy, she's upset because she didn't bait me successfully. I threw a curveball and she's ticked. And now she wants me to engage with her. I'm not going to engage. So I don't even respond to that message. I stewed about this for several days and it ate me up inside. Do I need to respond to her? Do I need to try to explain it to her? No, because that's what I've wasted the last couple of years doing. That's what I've spent my entire life exhausting myself and riddling myself with anxiety trying to do, is trying to explain why these things hurt, why it's not okay to bait my husband, why it's not okay to sidestep me and say things to my kids that are hurtful to them. But in this particular case, I was fortunate enough to be able to, after stewing about it and trying to figure it out and processing the guilt over not responding or answering her, kind of say, you know what, I'm not going to engage. That's what I had to do. I had to go through this whole thought process where I said to myself, this is what's going on. I identified what's going on. I'm not going to engage with my mom. Even after I hadn't responded for a couple of days, she could still have messaged me back and said, well, if you decide you don't want to give me his address and phone number, so be it. But please swing by my apartment at such and such time on such and such day and pick this thing up and drop it off to him next time you see him. If she had something, in fact, to give to my son. But she doesn't. That's the whole thing. This is all a trick, a ploy. And it has everything to do with if I give her what she wants, whatever it is, however stupid it is, then she feels as though she's getting the attention that she wants. This is the way that she came up with trying to prove to herself that her relationship with me is okay. She came up with this, oh, I hope the hurricane didn't damage your in-laws' house and blah, 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 blah. By the way, can I have your son's phone number and address? And I respond, not no, because I'm not going to argue with her. I say, here's a resolution. And she flies back with, that's not a resolution. Why won't you give me blah, 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 blah. And here I'm going, I'm not going to engage. And she could have, if she were healthy, responded a couple days later and said, okay, if you won't give me his address and phone number, that's your choice, because it really is my choice. Bottom line is, she could have very easily texted back at any point in time after she sent that immediate angry reaction and said, I'm sorry, I've got something for him. Please pick it up, send it, drop it off, ship it, whatever. Thank you so much for taking care of shipping. But no, let's see, 3 weeks went by. Nothing from her. And my husband and I and our younger son are going to see my older son at school this weekend. And so I sent my mom a message that said, hi, Mom, hope you're doing great. If you would like me to pick up whatever it was that you had for my older son, I can pick it up in the next day or two on my lunch break from work. We are headed up to see him in a couple of days and would be happy to deliver it to him for you. I love you very much. Pink heart emoji. No response. And that was, let's see, so that was a week ago, an entire week ago that I sent that message to my mom, and I haven't gotten a single response. So that's what you're going to be dealing with when you have a person in your life who you suspect is unhealthy, that's not good for you, and that you should probably steer clear of. An unhealthy person will groom you and give you what appears to be kindness and show you what appears to be kindness, and then come out of left field with this random, oh, by the way, can I get this information from you? And it usually comes hand in hand. It comes out of left field. You think you're going down this one road and they're grooming you, and you're kind of going, oh, that's nice, or thank you for that. And then bam, they catch you off guard and they hit you with something else. And you're like, well, they're just asking a question like, what time do I get out of work? I get out of work at 6 or whatever. And you think, big deal. No. Especially if you go through this cycle sometimes and you start noticing it happening once, happening twice, happening 3 times, red flag. Watch out for this in your relationships. And if you can, don't engage, don't fall for the bait, and try to separate yourself and get distance as best you can. I hope you guys take care of yourselves. Thanks so much for tuning into Whole Wellness with Ann. Bye.